So, welcome to Unpacking Partner Connect with ACDI. This is the follow-up show for PaperCut's very own Partner Connect, where they talk about the recent releases of PaperCut MF and Hive and all of the future releases coming with their products as well. Today, I'm joined by Jeff Vincent. Jeff, do you mind introducing yourself here really quick?
Absolutely. My name is Jeff Vincent. I am the Regional Solutions Manager with ACDI. I manage the East Coast team for all things sales.
Awesome. And also, Jeremy Pranger.
Yep, Jeremy Pranger, the Technical Support Manager here at ACDI.
We're going to talk a little bit about what we saw in this last webinar. So before we get started with the technicals, there is actually a really cool story about a PaperCut Partner Connect watch party that happened. Jeff, do you mind filling us in on what that was?
Absolutely. We were joined by about 30 of our reseller partners at the Atlanta Training Roadshow we hosted last week, and we were able to pause that training, have everyone join the Partner Connect and watch it. We even spun up a Google Sheet to allow everyone to interact and ask questions as we went through it.
Okay, wonderful. Awesome. And what was the feedback that you got from a live watch party?
People were much more excited about Hive than they were prior to the Partner Connect, and willing to give it a second chance.
Nice. That's what we like to hear. All right. Now, what is, so we'll start with Jeremy and then we'll ask you the same question. Jeremy, what is your, the feature that you're most excited for that you saw during the PaperCut Partner Connect webinar?
Hands down, the Cloud Node.
The Cloud Node?
Yep.
Okay.
The Cloud Node, being able to do direct delivery to the MFD from the cloud. I think that's going to be a huge boon for a lot of customers that have zero trust environments where they can't necessarily rely on an edge mesh to talk to each other to be able to do that print job delivery. They can just print it to the cloud, and as long as they have the internet connection and the devices have an internet connection, they'll be able to release that job.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that as well. Some of the things that PaperCut's focusing on heavily is security. So just like you said, it's good for zero trust, separate network segments, and also data sovereignty. And the two different methods that new pull print's going to have is cloud pull, which is from the cloud to the MFD, and then local pull, which is from the client to the MFD. So definitely excited about that as well. Do you guys happen to know what are the manufacturers that are first going to support that feature?
Lexmark and Ricoh.
Well, very close, very close.
Oh, no, it's Lexmark and Kyocera.
Lexmark and Kyocera are going to be the first ones, and then Ricoh close to follow. Yeah. So you were really close there. Really close. I'll give you half points for that. Yeah. What is your favorite feature that you saw during the PaperCut Partner Connect?
Oh, pull delivery. All the way.
Pull delivery as well?
I can't explain it or articulate it as well as Jeremy did, but that is the most sought after feature for Hive, period.
Yeah. I think correct me if I'm not mistaken, I think what a lot of people thought cloud printing was going to be, like with features like universal prints and things like that, was going to be straight from the cloud to the MFD. And when they realized that you actually still need like some sort of computer or server on-prem in order to be able to use things like universal print or other solutions, like that's a little bit of a disappointment, right? Mm-hmm. So now that this cloud printing is going to take place, I think a lot of end users are excited about that. Now, I know that you guys aren't asking me, but I'm going to go ahead and share it anyways. My feature that I'm most excited about is the print deploy feature that's coming to Hive. And if you stuck to the end, that was actually the features that most people were excited about. And it's because it's kind of like print deploy for MF, but it's going to be for Hive. So basically what that's going to do is, more than anything, it says make print queue management a lot easier. We're going to be able to set up print queues a lot easier, and that's going to be for both direct and Find Me print queues. So I'm sure that there are a lot of organizations that want to move to a SaaS product, but also need that type of print queue control in order to be able to make that a viable option. So I think that that's going to actually make a difference for us. So one of the key takeaways that I found was important, and this is a little bit more in your realm, Jeff, and so if you could talk about it, is the licensing changes that are going to come with print queue deployment for Hive.
Absolutely. So we used to call it mobile release, and that's going to change to printer subscription. That allows us to license either the full embed, the light release, or the printer subscription to license each print device and create as many print queues as we want for those devices.
Wonderful. So that's going to be a huge advantage for just simplifying quoting and also making sure that they have as many deployment zones as they need. All right, awesome. Jeremy, what are your key takeaways?
Well, for me, I'm just going to piggyback off of what Jeff mentioned earlier with the scanning piece with PaperCut MF. Just having the new address book functionality. That's, I've been around PaperCut long enough, and we probably had that request at least 6-7 years now. So it's really exciting to see that coming down the pipeline. But then also being able to do the scan delivery and being able to sort things into the directories for other document management systems to be able to pick up on. And I think that's going to be a huge function that's going to get leveraged pretty heavily by customers.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of that.
Oh, the scan actions, the advanced scan actions, that stuff is super cool too. I mean, the address book is part of that, but the ability to then browse folders and do different stuff within the software is huge. It's huge.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that when we're looking at Hive, we get a lot of, we're moving towards feature parity with PaperCut MF, but that doesn't make PaperCut MF, that there's no innovation there. I mean, PaperCut MF is pushing forward with adding even more advanced features on scanning. So focus on MF scanning, focus on Hive is all other features as well. So we are seeing development on both ends. Now, a couple things that I wanted to mention for key takeaways, which I didn't know if you guys caught onto it, but you mentioned it earlier with Kerberos authentication. Now, that's not a new feature that already exists in PaperCut MF, but just for those that you that don't know, the authentication of NTLM is being deprecated, so it's going away, bye-bye, and it's going to be the era of Kerberos authentication when it comes to Microsoft. So definitely ahead of the curve there, right? And then the other thing that we got updated was the mobile release interface in MF. So that was cool. We're getting OKTA configurations.
Have you ever tried to use the mobile version of the PaperCut MF dashboard?
I did. I have, yes. And back in the day, it was kind of dated, and now it looks a whole lot better.
It's so clean now. It's awesome. The updates are immaculate.
Yes, and it looks pretty close to the admin interface if you haven't checked that out already. The other thing that I wanted to touch base on that maybe a lot of people don't know is the Spring Framework update. So Jeremy, do you have any insight into that, or?
Other than, PaperCut continually looks at addressing security needs within the product, and it seems like every incremental release they make some kind of security uplift to the product to stay ahead of the curve. But for the specific Spring Framework vulnerability, I can't speak to that on this.
Well, it's not. So here's the thing that's interesting. Now, I am very excited about this because I'm the guy that people look to when there's a security breach, and they're like, Ralph, you have to make another message. And I'm like, oh no. So I like seeing this stuff, that it's a proactive move on PaperCut's part, right?
Not reactive.
Yeah, and not reactive. They're not sitting on their laurels of like, oh, we did a pen test a year ago, we don't have to do anything else. And I had to look it up myself, but Spring Framework is an open source Java app framework that provides infrastructure support for building enterprise level Java apps, right? So if you guys didn't know, PaperCut is heavily based on Java. So that framework is just basically a proactive uplift to the whole entire infrastructure. And what's exciting is that PaperCut said, hey, before this gets released into the wild, we're going to be working with our ASCs, our distributing channels, and with our partners to make sure that this is ready for prime time. So that's
the only reason I'm even relatively smart is because of the product posts.
Yeah, well, I try to make sure that everybody's kept up to date with the latest PaperCut news and other product news as well. Now, last question, okay? And Jeremy, we'll start with you. Any surprises on this Partner Connect? Anything that you saw that kind of was like, oh, I didn't know that, or oh, that's pretty cool.
I don't know. I try to stay on top of things whenever the release updates and the product roadmap. But I will say the address book functionality, for some reason, I just did not recall that being an immediate release, and so that was a happy be surprised to see that was finally coming in.
Which we're expecting that to be in the 25.0 release of PaperCut MF. So about April time frame for that, maybe a little bit later. It just depends on, how quickly development can get everything tied up. Jeff, what about you?
I'm excited about the advanced scan licensing for perpetual and MFS customers. The perpetual license customers will receive one advanced scan action license, and the MFS customers will receive 10. And
we'll receive 10.
That's all part of that Trailblazer program that PaperCut's been running.
Yeah, so I was excited about that because when I first heard about it, and I think if I'm not mistaken, this was like a little snafu that was made in the PaperCut Partner Connect webinar itself. They say 5 in the recording, and then they're like, no. In case if you missed it, because they just mentioned it for like 2 seconds.
This was pre-recorded, we're going to update that for you, and we're going to actually double it.
Yeah, we're going to double it. It's actually 10, so that was a surprise for me as well, the fact that there was 10. But I think one of the other things that surprised me is the fact that we're getting that OKTA configuration. So that was pretty cool for Hive. OKTA is becoming really popular. Actually, I think you've put in a couple feature requests for OKTA stuff on behalf of your customers to me. So I know that that's something that our industry is like moving towards, like different authentication methods. And then also the multi-org login. So this isn't going to really like be a thing for our end users per se, but for example, any of our partners or us that have to support multiple Hive environments, now we can just use one email versus having to
use aliases.
Yeah, to use email aliases was a pain. It wasn't fun. So I, for one, am very thankful for that update and was surprised by it.
Should we talk about the advancements to Multiverse for Hive while we're here?
Yeah, actually that's a good point. So Jeremy, do you mind telling people, in case if they're not familiar with, because I actually found out there's not a lot of people that are super familiar with Multiverse and what it is.
Yeah, so Multiverse is it's a multifaceted tool that PaperCut offers. So if you're in sales, you can log in and you can actually see like utilization for customers as far as what functions of Hive and NG or MF are being used. And that way you can make recommendations as to if there's any kind of, services or additional functions of PaperCut that can be sold that might benefit that customer. But from my team standpoint on the sports side, it allows us to have a more proactive approach to being able to have visibility into the health of the system to see if they're getting low on any kind of system resources or if they're having any kind of major issue within NG. But it also allows us access. So especially with Hive, very useful. We can just do a direct jump into a customer's environment to troubleshoot an issue a little bit easier. If we get a call from somebody that doesn't necessarily have the login information for Hive, then that's no problem. We as long as they're loaded into our Multiverse instance, we can just jump right into their Hive and troubleshoot from there.
Right.
And it's such a cool tool. It must cost $1 million.
Nope, 100% free.
Yeah. Offered for free by PaperCut. And also, just worth noting, we cannot remote into any system unless the customer gives us permission ahead of time. So these are systems that the customers are well aware that are put in place, and it's just for ease of support, right? And it's like a way to be proactive almost. And the update that Jeff is talking about is the fact that we can now create Hive tenancies within Multiverse. So it just makes it easier for our partners to create like demos, to create trials for their potential customers and things like that. So just big like quality of life type update with Multiverse. So definitely I agree with you there that was a good update. So happy with that. Okay. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up this episode of Unpacking Partner Connect. I thank Jeff and Jeremy for joining me this time, and we'll see you after the next Partner Connect.
Bye, all.